What's up, guys? Welcome to the weekly technicals for Sunday, June 23rd, 2019, and we're currently looking at the economic calendar for this upcoming week. And for Monday, we don't really have too much on the economic calendar, but for Tuesday we have OPEC meetings all day, high impact, and then 10 a.m. we have some dollar index news, 1 p.m. dollar index news, and medium impact dollar index news at 6:30 p.m. as well. Then we've got some New Zealand dollar at 10 p.m. So we've got cash rate and the rate statement at 10 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday. So Tuesday's a pretty busy day with economic events. And then Wednesday, GBP during London session. Then we've got New York session, dollar index, core durable goods, high impact, medium impact. Thursday, 8:30, New York session, dollar index, high impact again. Day one of G20 meetings. So we'll likely have a volatile week. We've got a good bit of high impact news events with dollar index this week on the economic calendar, which should lend well to a pretty volatile movement or a good bit of movement in the majors. So we'll primarily be focused on Euro, GBP, and dollar CAD this week. That's going to be my focus. And with that being said, let's go ahead. We'll jump into the charts. So looking at dollar index on a daily chart, we're actually going to go out to a weekly. So if you guys look on a weekly chart, we haven't really seen much like big body candles. It's just been relatively tight consolidation for the most part. But we have these weekly relative equal lows here at 95.15 to like 95 big figure. So that should be the next downside objective. We have these equal lows here at 95.80. So if you look, the market looks like it's expanding down for that. Also, we've got a new ICT weekly bearish order block here. So we can actually mark this out. And that low comes in at 96.58. So you guys want to have this on your charts, because if the market trades up to this level, we could easily see the market find resistance and sell off. So we could trade up into 96.58, maybe even 97 big figure, and then sell off down into the 95s. So if we drop down to a daily, I have this low marked out here at 96.46, so 96.45 really. And basically what this is, now you can see the dollar index sold off big bearish candles closed below this low. So we could see the market want to run back up and retest that level. We could see the market want to do something like this. Right? And then also we have our weekly ICT bearish order block here, so we can actually make this bigger. So we also have a resistance level perfectly or almost perfectly aligned with this, only about 10 pips above the daily low here. So we're going to look for the market to trade up initially between Sunday and Monday. I'd like to see it push up into 96.45 to 96.60. If we can trade up into either of these levels here and show resistance, then the high of the week will likely be in, and then we can look for a continued expansion to the downside. So by the end of the week, I'd like to see if we can get below 95.80 as the first objective, then 95.20. And then we've got 95 big figure, which will take us around here below this daily low and below the bodies of these candles here. So we've got a good bit of room to go on the downside. I do believe, since we're showing this much rejection, that we likely have a intermediate to short-term top in the dollar index. So I don't expect them to come all the way back above 98 big figure, for example. Still looking for a continuation to the downside on dollar index, which should mean that we should see a continuation to the upside on foreign currency. So if we look at euro dollar, you guys can see very similar price action here. The market initially traded lower, back down into this ICT bullish order block here. These three down candles before this big up move, making a higher high. Market rallied past 3 days, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Took us above these relative equal highs here. And it looks like our next objective to the upside for euro dollar will be 1.14 big figure. And then we have this old high here at 14.50. So that'll be our next upside objective. So we can actually copy this level here. And that is perfect. So we're going to be looking for 14 big figure first as a target, about 40 pips from where we're at now, 30 pips or so. And then if we can get a continuation above that, we're going to look for 1450, which will take us above this daily high. And then we have some other daily highs to contend with back here as well, and ultimately back above 1.1620. So we do have some room on the upside to go, and likely the low down here at 1.1110 is, again, just like dollar index, more than likely a intermediate term to short term low. So it doesn't mean long term and we're going to see like, you know, thousands of pips or anything like that, but we may want to take it above like 1.1450, and depending on how the market closes above this level will determine whether or not we're going to reject here and come back lower, or if we're going to continue higher. So overall, bullish this market as of right now, while I'm still bearish on dollar index. So I'll be looking for buy setups in this market for this week. And one of the scenarios I'm watching is we have this series of down candles here. The market is now closed above it. And if you look, we've got 1.1350. So we can actually delete this because that was a bearish order block we don't need. And we don't need this, so we can actually move it. And we're going to use the high of this candle, which comes in at 1343. So that's going to be our downside objective, and we're going to make this blue, because if the market comes down here, it should act as support, and we should see strength away from it. So very similar to what we've seen on dollar index, we're going to be looking for this type of pattern to unfold on euro dollar. So we want to see them initially for the early on in the week between like Sunday and Monday. I'd like to see them come back down into like 1350, 1340, find some support, and then start rallying above from there. Keep in mind, we can go deeper into these down candles here. We could even come as deep as like 1.1280, which would be like the middle of these candles here. That'd be the absolute lowest I'd want to see them go. So in between 1350 to like 1280 at the absolute lowest is where I'd be looking for optimal buy setups. So you want to look for bullish price action around those levels. And those of you in the premium group, obviously I'll send a signal for any trade that I take on this. But those of you that pay attention that aren't in the premium group, I'd be looking for 1350 down to 1280 for the market to find support, and then look for a expansion or run up into 1.14 big figure to 1.1450. Alright, looking at British pound, you guys can see here that we initially ran below this low back here, May 30th, and then we came down, made one more dip June 20th, June 18th, 19th here. Made a lower low, then the market rejected, came all the way back up. So I think British pound on this market, we're going to be looking for continued upside expansion as well, just like we're looking for euro dollar. So we have these equal highs at 27.65, but ultimately I'm looking for a run back up into the 28s, so 28.50 to 28.90, maybe even 29 big figure. So about 150 pips from where we're at now, and this I think will be one of the bigger movers this week, in my opinion. So I'm going to be looking at this market to take any trades, and ideally I'd like to capture something between like 28 to like 28.50, 28.90, and that would provide like 50 to like 100 pips with just this setup here, taking us back up into this old daily low, which is right around that 1.2890 level. Also a previous ICT bullish order block, so you could see the market acted as support, then we closed below it. So if we get back to that level, we should see it act as resistance. So that's what I'll be looking at for British pound, and there's really no reason for them to come lower in here. Personally, I think they're just going to continue expanding higher. So we could see something like this, where they break above 27.80 here into the 28 big figure, come back down, retest it, and then we could see another expansion to the upside like that. So I'll be looking to get in on a buy once we have the expansion above this. I'll be looking at the retest here as my buying opportunity to capture the move up into 28.50 to roughly 29 big figure. Alright, now if we look at dollar CAD, this one has just been on a move. So if you guys remember, we were talking about it all while it was consolidating in here. We had this ICT bearish order block marked out at 35.65, which we hit perfectly to the pip, sold off, came all the way down into this ICT bullish order block. Market rallied, failed to break above these previous highs here, continued to sell off. Now we are trading back within this ICT bullish order block, but we're likely going to see a continuation to the downside on this pair here. So I'm going to move this, actually I'm going to move this down, because this will be our next target for the downside, which is this low, 31.12. And then we're going to take this, and then this is what we're going to be looking at to see if the market can come back up and retest this old daily low here. So this was, I think this was a Sunday, 2 weeks ago. I think it was 2 weeks ago Sunday. And I'm going to make this a little bigger. So 32.38 to maybe like 32.50. We could easily see this market, and you could see Friday we had a little bit of a close to the upside here. So we could trade up a bit initially in the week between like Sunday, Monday, and then see a rejection from there down into the 31s. So I still believe we have about 200 pips, maybe a little more on the downside for for dollar CAD here. So we could even get into the 1.3050s. So easily about 200 pips available for this. My primary focus this week, again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, is going to be Euro dollar, British pound USD, so cable, and dollar CAD. Those are going to be the three pairs I'm focused on this week. All of them look very well in terms of setups and opportunities, so I'm going to be more than likely trading all three. It just depends which one is going to have the better setups during New York session, which could end up just being dollar CAD. Since Euro and British pound do typically move a good bit during London session. But I could easily be trading all three all week. So I'm just saying those are the three that I'm going to be looking at. I'm going to be looking for setups in. You guys now know what I'm going to be looking for. And there's there's no better one of the three that, I would say is the best to trade this week. I think all of them are pretty good, especially based on the price action we've seen with dollar index. I think we've got a pretty reasonable high in place, and we'll likely see continued expansion to the downside, which should lend to higher prices on foreign currency. And for example, like dollar CAD, we should see weakness because dollar is the first currency. So it should trade in sync with what the dollar's doing. If the dollar moves lower, this should move lower, which would mean strength for Canadian dollar. So that's what I'll be looking at for this week, guys. Hopefully you guys found some value in this weekly technical session. If you guys have any questions, just drop a comment below the video, and I will talk with you all next week and the weekly technicals on Sunday. That being said, you guys have a good, profitable week, and I'll talk to you soon.